Hi there, Kyber Cave production family. I hope you're doing well. Van is here. Yes. He was not that's loud. He was not stuck in traffic. He apparently forgot the password to the computer or something. I'm not gonna tell you how I know that because there's a birdie in your store. Anyway. Good to see
I
you all. How
literally
have you been
just
this
called.
weekend?
I
I
literally just
know.
called him. That's so funny. You like know things before I can even get it out. And I want to address. I just want to make a point really clear. Night Vision made a comment about our title for this week, so my thought was effective.
Hi, Kate.
I
King,
wanted
how
to
are
draw
you?
people in.
Yes, and I want to remind people that at kcpmerch.com, we get merch. You know, you can get yourself some merch. And here's like a notebook that I recently got that's for Van, for work at KC. There's phone cases, there's shirts. I just recently got myself a hoodie. I was like really excited about that one. And I do apologize for the bright lights in my face. My curtain rod broke. I was literally hanging here with my curtain on the floor, and I just bought a new curtain rod, but I haven't had a moment to put it up. So it is really going to be really bright. But I could lean back. But it'll be kind of bright for a little bit. Any
That's
Hazel. Hi, Bat Mike. Hope you're well. Have you been this week, sir?
Yay. Oh man, it's been crazy. Obviously, it's like Christmas time around here. So we've been doing conventions every weekend. Oddly, the one that we usually rely on May 4th fell through for us last minute. But some of you who are especially are in this area, like Twisted Films down there. What's up, Patrick? May know we are moving to our brand new home May 1st. Yay!
Woo!
We are going to be in the Vacaville outlet stores. Yeah.
Films
we're
the
going to be in the
rod
back
broke.
of
You
them.
try Viagra. Sorry.
Wow.
Go ahead.
We are going to be inside all funked up in the Vallejo outlet stores. So May 4th and May 5th, we are having a tremendous please come in the store sale. Come and meet us in our new home. We're doing 40% off on any combat saber, which is crazy. If you guys know me or been around, I never do 40% off sales. It's like madness.
No, not ever. I was a little surprised to see that anyway. And Jedi Council of America says there's a new chapter in Maine, which is pretty awesome. So congratulations on that. A-Dub King just said, what day is the Omega Con?
Oh, Omega Con. That is, give me a moment and I will look that up.
He's going to look it up, and Bat Mike says he's been good. Joined the lightsaber training group. Woohoo! Hopefully he'll be on a pro at some point, he says. That would be completely awesome.
May 25th.
May 25th. Okay.
The weekend it's a 3-day event. Sorry.
It's Memorial Day weekend, I think.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So I've had a long week. Mezzo here has made a big shift in something. So in a year and a half to 2 years, I do plan to have surgery. And it'll be quite a while, like 1.5 to 2 years. I have to do some other stuff first, like lose 75 pounds for it. And such, but it'll be, so that's why it'll be a while. But no worries. Bat Mike, we'll have to use the dark saber. Ooh, when he tries to be Flo of the show. And Se Wong says sadly he will be at another event that weekend. I'm not sure what I'm doing that weekend per se, like specifically. Where is Omega Con?
That I can't. I mean, I think it's in the Turlock area. I don't remember exactly. The big thing about Omega Con is it's 3 separate cons coming together to make one. That's Omega Con.
Yeah. So if it's not, Turlock is like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, something like that.
You know what? Hold on. Give me a quick second. I can maybe look it up. Convention Center.
I think the reason I know why is because something I bought myself was in Turlock, and I was like, oh, it's 116 miles away. That's like almost 2.5 hours. And I'm so, can I just go pick up what I ordered? Let me show you what I ordered.
Oh, okay. So Omega Con is in Fresno.
I ordered this. It's in Fresno. That's 4 hours away.
Oh, wow.
This is a new camera lens.
Oh.
And it goes quite long.
Oh.
This one does not. That Mike, this one does not. Wait, Twisted. This does not need Viagra.
Twisted is a photographer himself. He might. Yeah. So really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a Sigma lens, 100 to 400 range. It's my first lens that I purchased that did not come like with my camera. So,
All right, so Fanime will be the same weekend of Memorial Day weekend, apparently.
Okay, I just asked you a question as well.
So said, what am I missing? You said Vallejo. Yeah, I did mean Vacaville Mall. I'm sorry, Vallejo doesn't have a mall. Vacaville outlet malls.
It is Vacaville Outlet, yes. It was the Vacaville Outlet malls and the Funked Up Collectibles, all Funked Up shop.
All funked up.
All funked up. And then Jedi Council America says Lucas will have a screening of The Phantom Menace at Lucas headquarters in San Francisco on May 3rd. That's cool.
I want to go. I don't get to never do cool stuff like that.
And if you didn't catch it, it's a Sigma lens. It is a 100 to 400 telephoto zoom. And I tried it out for a couple days this last week, taking it to my son's soccer games to kind of get some cool action shots and stuff. So, and hi, Raph, how are you?
What's up, Raph?
There's something we haven't done yet. What is that? You know what's first on the nerdy news is the Webby Award winners. And so Star Wars won 3 awards.
Wow.
Yes, I'm very, very excited about that. Let me double check what awards were won. So Star Wars Recipes won the Webby Award and brought home the Webby People's Voice Award for social food and drink category. So if you don't know what the Webby Awards are, they're like the internet awards. And then we also Star Wars also won the People's Voice Award in the video events and live streams category, and was an honoree in the social television and film category. And the Star Wars Ahsoka Snaplens was named as an honoree in the social best use of filters/lenses category. So it's like all the different categories are something that you're definitely not used to, because many people are used to like best picture, that kind of a thing when you
hear
about that. And then the next thing on our nerdy news is Mother's Day is coming up, y'all. Mom and Metso can have some gifts. Come on. So on Star Wars Mother's Day gift guide, there is a gift guide. You can see the pictures that you see on here are some of the items they suggest. There's also like the top left, if you can't really see, it's a C-3PO makeup kit, like gold.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was that was pretty neat. It's by ColourPop, which is actually a pretty popular makeup brand. There's sunglasses. There's a shirt that says Rebel Mom, and the O is the Rebel symbol. And stuff. So there's some pretty cool stuff on it. So make sure to check that out for either your mother who loves Star Wars or your lady friend that's the mom of your kids, possibly. So that is your nerdy news for today. If you are watching the uploader, you guys want to check out the articles on those. They are linked in the description below. I'm also going to put them in the chat in a second, so you can check those out in your time.
And we are coming up on the anniversary of Phantom Menace too, so expect to see a lot of Phantom Menace merchandise floating around out there.
We talked a little bit about it yesterday on Saturday Morning Nerd Out, and something that I think we're going to have fun with for content is my youngest. This is going to shock everybody probably, but my youngest, Hussein, has not seen a single Star Wars movie. Yeah,
wow, any of them.
And I don't think he even knows about the twist that happens in the originals, and so I think I'm gonna do like a thing where I record his reaction to thing and then upload it as a fun video. Yes, I know. Say Wong gasp. I know it's blasphemy basically in the Star Wars world to not show your kids that. But here's the thing about my kids: they are not movie kids. Like, and despite my husband and I like being huge fans of movies and going to movies like once a month at the very least, they are not movie kids. But I'm hoping like I'll be able, he's been enjoying Back to the Future. Maybe we can get him to like Star Wars, and so like introducing him to some things. Any hoozle. Next, guys, we have James Kaiser is our producer for Flow of the Show. I love your cat so much. For Flow of the Show, he brings us a flow every week, whether it be fire dancing, gloving, saber spinning. And this week, our flow was actually a guest on our show named Saber Sonic.
Yeah,
you can actually find the link to this video in the description below, and you can actually find his page through that. So please enjoy this flow from Saber Sonic.
Woo. That
That
boy
is your
good.
flow. Yeah, that boy good.
That boy
Saber Sonic,
good.
he was actually the guy in the show that like after the show ended, I think I stuck around for another 45 minutes chatting with him because we just were like having a great time chatting. You know, yes.
And
So
especially when if you go back, watch his episode and you realize he's only been spinning like a year and a half. He's a relatively
yeah.
new person to the game. It is amazing how many people. I particularly remember on that show how many people were in the comments section that had like, "Oh, he was a great instructor," and
Oh
like
yeah,
had never
definitely.
even met him. They're like on the other side of the world, and
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
and
he taught me how to do this spin."
they were like talking about big advocate wise in the sense that like people who were disabled were able to do like the spins that he was teaching and stuff, which I found really cool because I myself and have a disability. And so like I thought that was really cool and it made me think, maybe I should go watch some stuff and like learn how to spin from his stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. So thank you, James Kaiser, for producing and sending us that flow of the show. You can check him out in the description below. I will also go ahead and post it in the chat for you guys to check out. It'll take you to the group that he posted. So if you want, you can like just join that group and then see some really cool Saber artists as well. All right. So, sir, it's time for our guest. You want to introduce?
I am very excited about our guest tonight. We were talking about earlier, Mez and I were saying that, of course, May 4th falls on Saturday this year. And, because we do our show on Sundays, we wanted to bookend both the beginning of our May 4th week and the end of our May 4th week with some of our favorite Star Wars friends that we've talked to in the past. We are very lucky to bring this gentleman back. For those of you who may be, let's say, of a certain age, you may recall when it was on TV, but now we have Disney Plus. So even if you aren't of a certain age, you can still you can still check these wonderful movies out. There were separate from the movies, there were a couple of Ewok movies. At the time, they came on independently on television, so they weren't ones that you went out to the big screen to see. But the gentleman coming on tonight was the star of these movies. He was the first Mace. You thought Samuel L. Jackson was the first Mace? No, you would be incorrect. This gentleman, Mr. Eric Walker, was the first Mace in the Star Wars universe. So with no further ado, please give it up for our good friend, Mr. Eric Walker.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Hey. Oh my! You've got that dynamic voice. You got that stoic voice for radio.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, you do your own podcast too. You do a lot of shows currently, so we'll get into talking about all of that stuff. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show. Obviously, big fan and big Star Wars geek as well. So,
of course. Is this a busy time of year for you? I'm sure everybody wants to talk to you. It's like around Christmas time. It's a Star Wars Christmas.
For sure. I mean, obviously, since the movies are now on Disney Plus, a lot of people have been reaching out more to me, been doing more interviews. As you mentioned, I have my own podcast, and obviously, I'm a big Star Wars fan, as you could see behind me. But also, I'm enjoying this right now.
Oh, some blue milk.
Yeah, so I went out and got that as well. So, it's good times to be a Star Wars fan.
It is a good time.
And I'm lucky enough to have been a part of it back in the original days. I'm the OG. I'm the original Mace. Sorry, Sam Jackson. So
yes. And Mace, I remember reading some of the original stuff that when George Lucas was writing the original scripts, Mace was a name that's always been important to him. That was one of the first names he came up with. Mace Windy was the first origination, and then it changed, and of course you became Mace. So we know that is a name that's always stuck with George Lucas.
For sure. And when we were making the Caravan of Courage, which was called the Ewok Adventure here, now on Disney Plus, this is Caravan of Courage.
Right.
We were told that the movies took place about 150 years after Return of the Jedi. But that didn't quite make sense to me. But now that that new book was written and they put Sindel Tawani, on Coruscant as a reporter later in the Senate, it made more sense that maybe I was named after Mace. Maybe my family liked Mace Windu, or Windy.
All right. Maybe Mace was the Steve of the galaxy. Maybe every fifth kid had the name Mace.
Maybe as well. So that's true.
What has it been like for you? I'm sure, for a while when you could only see it on television before Disney Plus, before the whole streaming service re-brought your movies back, must have been a time period where a lot of people just had no idea who you were and how you fit into the bigger universe. What has it been like to have this new core of a fresh audience and have young people again actually know who you are?
Well, it's been quite a journey. Like you mentioned, it was on television here in the United States. 65 million people watched it the night it was out. Nobody watches.
Right.
You'll never get a show that has 65 million viewers again, with all the choices. But overseas, it was called Caravan of Courage. So everywhere else in the world, they thought it was a new Star Wars movie. So it was actually released in theaters everywhere, but America and Canada, even in Mexico, it was in the movie theaters. So, that's been, but like you said, it's like forgotten, everybody forgets about it and then it disappears and then it gets released on home video. Then later it got released on DVD in 2005. Then it disappeared again. So it's been an interesting journey. That's for sure. Because it's part of Star Wars and George Lucas wrote the story and he directed it. Like you showed in the clip, he directed part of Caravan of Courage. It comes up every once in a while. It's kind of interesting. It's like my 15 minutes of fame started, then it stopped, then it started, then it stopped. It's been an interesting journey.
You just got to do it over and over again every few years.
Pretty much. But I'm grateful. I'm humble. If I was a part of someone's journey and I made them forget about this world, and I hear stories from fans at conventions like, that was my childhood. I'm thinking, oh, that's great. And they tell me that how their sister and brother pretended like they're a Mace and Sindel, and that's definitely a humbling experience to be a part of this journey for sure.
Right. Okay, I'm not sure I understand this question here. What's your take on the controversy surrounding Brimley dropping an F-bomb?
That was on Ewoks: A Battle for Endor, and there was a lot more to that story than meets the eye. In fact, if you talk to Nikki Patella, who played Teak, she'll tell you that Wilford got really mad and said, I ain't working with no Muppet, because originally Teak in the movie was like Yoda, and it was a puppet.
Right.
He didn't want to work with that, and they had to create Nikki Patella was originally supposed to do the stunts for Wicket, so she was the Wicket stunt double, and then later. There's a whole story behind that, and Joe Johnston ended up directing every scene with Wilford Brimley. So they had a second crew that directed him because he was very upset during filming. And maybe that's why we didn't get a 30-walk adventure, because originally we were trying to do 3 movies, and the second movie, the budget bloomed to $7 million or something like that, and just wasn't sustainable for television for sure.
How long was the gap between the 2 movies from being on set to being on set? Not the gap in the storyline, but the gap in filming.
The first movie, I was auditioning in May, and I got the part really quickly. We started filming. The first day of the first movie was June 11th, 1984. And the second movie started filming in May of the next year. So it was just almost a year later.
Wow. So they knew right from the beginning that this is what it sounded like. They wanted to just knock these out.
Well, I was signed to do a trilogy. So I was signed for a movie and to do 2 sequels originally. I had options for them that they could pick up, and they just didn't do the third movie. So I heard they wrote a script for the third movie, and it's somewhere in the Lucasfilm archives, but they never filmed it.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. What could have been for the third movie?
I have no idea, but who knows in the Star Wars universe? So
right. How do you how do fans receive you? How do your new younger fans receive you now that that they're seeing you on the streaming platform and everything, knowing that you're part of this history, but they don't have a recollection. They've never seen you on any of the regular movies. How's
really
that been like?
It really depends on who you're talking to. I have stormtroopers come up to me and say, "Don't tell the other stormtroopers, but I like the movies," and they don't want to know about that. But then, if it's younger children, they love the movies because this was made originally. George Lucas did this for his daughter Amanda Lucas, and as you know, George does Star Wars for children. So I just it's a mixed bag. Some people love, most people, and the most general thing I get is this is better than the sequels or the prequels, which I don't buy into any of that. I love all of Star Wars. I love the sequels. I love the prequels. I love everything. So.
Wow. What's been really interesting? There's all this talk about like the acolyte, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about your podcast and what you talk about on there.
Sure.
There's been this talk about the acolyte, and when I watch like YouTubers and critics, I see all the negativity, but when I talk to actual fans, I feel like a lot of people are really excited for this project. I don't know what the disconnect is.
Well, I mean, every generation has their own Star Wars, which is why Star Wars is multi-generational, right? So, I mean, for instance, my nephew, his favorite Star Wars movie is Attack of the Clones. It's not my favorite, but it's his favorite, and that's okay. So it crosses many generations, and every generation has a different Star Wars, and that's a great thing. But the Acolyte looks great. The Skeleton Crew looks good. I did see a thing on Screen Rant recently about how the Skeleton Crew is the first movie that follows children. I wrote a comment back. No, it's not. The first one with children. So.
Right. Okay, so we got a couple of questions here.
But what I would tell people though is if you go watch Caravan of Courage, the Ewok movie, or Ewoks About a Friend, or on Disney Plus. It's on Disney Plus right now under Star Wars Vintage. I guess that's a nice way of saying we're old. but if you go watch it, don't go watching it thinking you're watching Empire Strikes Back. It's really a children's movie. It's in the Star Wars universe, but it's a great family. Both of them are great family film. Well, the second one's not a great family film because we all die, but they're good family films.
Right. These were meant for a different time period, and for a different media altogether. That's something I kind of want to talk to you about. Maybe we'll jump back to it because there's some questions here. But I was talking. My son is 15 years old, and we were talking about the difference between like 80s movies and movies that were produced back then. And I was saying how when I was younger and we had our Saturday morning cartoons, I feel like there were more cultural events that we could cling on to and wrap around, so that even if you and I weren't in the same household, we we all saw Star Wars, or we were all, everybody knows about Saturday morning cartoons. But this generation doesn't really have that. Everyone's got their own little niches, and there's nothing to talk about around the water cooler anymore. I feel like it's a loss of cinema. It's like a loss of a shared experience with cinema.
There's too many choices now. There's too many different vehicles now. And I remember when we were doing the Ewok movies, Warwick would tell me how they had cable and stuff like that, and he told me it's just very different. There's too many choices now for sure.
Right. I want to get to a couple of these questions that are here. First off, I believe you live in the LA area. Is that correct?
I live in Woodland Hills, which is in Los Angeles. Correct.
Do you get special treatment at Galaxy's Edge?
No, I do not.
Oh, does anybody ever know you, or have you ever been recognized? Or
sometimes from some old diehard fans, and it's just one time I actually went there and I put on the Mace costume, and Chewbacca seemed to recognize me. No, I'm just joking. But it was a good experience for sure. I pretended like I was Mace, like I got off, like I survived, and I'm on Batuu looking for Sindel. It was just a joke, but it was fun.
So another question here is, what was it like to be that close to the magic of Star Wars? Now, at that time, that was after Return of the Jedi, and you were already a Star Wars fan when you came on to the Ewok movies. Is that correct?
I mean, I'd seen Return of the Jedi like probably 20 times because it was released a year before in movie theaters. So I was very much a Star Wars fan. I hadn't seen the first two movies. For whatever reason, I wasn't into going to movies. And back then, if you didn't go to the movie, you didn't see it, right? So
Right.
I didn't see A New Hope, which was the original Star Wars, or Empire Strikes Back. My actually first time seeing them was I went to a trilogy screening like on the 10th anniversary with a bunch of fans, which was great. But I was very much a big fan. I knew what Ewoks were, so I didn't know that I was when I first did the auditions, they gave me scenes with just Mace and Sindel to do the auditioning.
Right.
So I didn't really know that until I did the screen test, and they brought an Ewok out to see if Aubrey Miller, because she was only 4 years old at the time, the youngest actor ever to play in a Star Wars movie is Aubrey Miller. She was 4 years old.
Wow.
And they wanted to make sure she wouldn't be afraid of an Ewok. So, they brought an Ewok out on a stick with the head and everything. She ran up and hugged it like it was a teddy bear, and so they knew the answer right away. And when I saw that, I said, "Wait a second here, I know what that is." So I kind of at that point, and then we finished the screen test. At the end of the day, they asked us to wait outside. Then it came out 10 minutes later and said, "You got the part." So I very much knew what I was involved in. It was like the pinch me moment. I'm pinching my skin, saying, "Am I living in a daydream?"
Right.
It was very much a big deal. And then later, George Lucas got really involved because he didn't want another holiday special, right? So he was involved in the storyline, the producing, the editing, and then during the reshoot, which everybody makes a big deal on the internet about the reshoots, like, "Oh, something's wrong with filming." No, it's not. They always do reshoots. And the producer and the director, John Cordy, had another commitment, so he couldn't do the reshoot. So George Lucas actually directed us for like a week on all the retakes and reshoot.
Wow.
You showed the picture.
With George.
Yes. And I can tell you, I mean, if you look at the thing at the beginning, you were showing the image I sent you. George directed the scene where Mace is sticking his hand in the tree. That was his scene.
Yeah.
Because he didn't like the other scene, which was deleted. There's a lot of deleted scenes in the movie, by the way. So, and he would bring Amanda to the set all the time, his daughter. And it was just, he was a very different director than John Cordy. Very technical. Right. He set up a shot very fast. He was very fast. And you could kind of see his mind working, like maybe he was editing it as he was shooting it. Really a genius. George Lucas is definitely a genius for sure. Good experience.
Right. How much acting experience had you had up until that point?
I had been in I'd done a lot of small parts. I had been an actor for about 3 years or so. Prior to that, I was on Webster. I don't know if you remember that with Emmanuel Lewis in the 80s. I was on that show. I did a movie with Diane Cannon and Barry Newman. I was her niece, and just did a bunch of small parts before that. And it was obviously my first big break. After that, I was Robert Downey Jr.'s brother in Less Than Zero. I was his younger brother.
Okay.
Yep. And did a couple other Disney movies with Mickey Rooney. So, but everybody remembered me from the Star Wars movies because obviously Star Wars is so big. So, that's okay though.
If you're going to be remembered for anything, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
But now, even nowadays, though, I mean, I feel like I see you a lot doing conventions or like, before conventions, there's like, I don't know, like pub crawls or like get-togethers that people have that are not necessarily sanctioned at the conventions and stuff like that. Are you doing more and more with the fans now, or
since the movies were released on Disney Plus, I've gotten out there more. I do run a business. I am a general contractor. I do construction and windows and build homes. When I'm free, I don't do them as much as the other actors and Star Wars, alumni do them. But I enjoy doing them. I enjoy meeting the fans. And actually, I'm wearing a shirt. I'm getting ready to do Rebel Scum, which is from rebelscum.com, which everybody knows of that website. They're doing their first convention in Dallas in June 27th through the 30th, and I'm going to be appearing there. They just announced Ahmed Best is going to, Jar Jar Binks is going to be there just the other day, which is great. So
nice.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Other than that, my passion is, other than being a, go ahead. Other than that, my passion is doing music. I'm a composer, so yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to get a little bit into your podcast and, you know, some of the other things that you do outside of Star Wars. But you were talking about music. Let's talk about that. What kind of music do you do? And, you know, is it something you do in a studio at home, or do you go out and perform, or?
Well, we just did a performance in Boston, actually, with, because originally what I was doing was like electronic instrumental stuff like Vangelis or Tangerine Dream or Jean-Michel Jarre, who I grew up with in the 80s, and they kind of mentored my doing electronic instrumental music. So I released 3 albums doing that first, and then people started saying, your music sounds like you should have some singers doing it too. So I have a friend of mine named Buddy Mix, who we created a whole story. We created a character for him called ACM, which stands for Alpha Centauri Man. So we created this whole backstory about this alien, and he's singing on all the new tracks. So every album we release will have at least one Star Wars themed song on it. Our latest single just came out a few weeks ago. It's so you should check that out. It's called Jedi Dance, which is
nice.
Cool. Yeah,
nice. What kind of music inspires you? What do you listen to when you're just sitting around at home? Is it the type of music you tend to play, or are you listening to all different types of genres?
I'm listening
besides
to
what you just mentioned.
Well, I'm listening to everything because I want to have my ear to the ground and on the pulse. But I'm mostly inspired, of course, by 80s and 90s music because that's when I grew up. And a lot of my stuff sounds like 80s music. So if you guys like 80s music, you'll love my stuff. Recently, I've tried to listen to some of the new stuff out there, and there's some good stuff out there. Taylor Swift is great. You know, her newest album, though, everything sounded kind of very similar, you know, but her older stuff I liked a lot. I like Bruno Mars, of course. I like Ed Sheeran. There's some good stuff out there recently but you know, most of my stuff is kind of 80s vibe.
Right. We just recently, about 3 weeks ago, had a band on the show called the 3POs. You can check out them.
I'll have to check them out for sure. Thanks for letting me know.
What? Tell us a little bit about your podcast as well. Are you talking about music on there? Is it sci-fi related? Is it Star Wars related? What is what are you doing on there?
Well, the podcast I do is sci-fi related. You know, shortly before the pandemic, I was thinking about doing a podcast, and you know, everybody seems to have a niche. You know, whether it's Star Wars, or they're in that camp, or they're in Star Trek's camp, you know, or whatever sci-fi thing. And I said, there's not too many podcasts that just have all sci-fi for it. So I said, well, that'd be a great name. So I have a podcast called allforsci-fi.com, spell the whole word out.
Right.
And we review and talk about everything sci-fi, whether it's the latest Star Wars movies, whether it's Godzilla versus Kong, the latest Star Trek Discovery. So it's everything sci-fi. And I have a sidekick on the show. His name is Captain Rickster. We call him the Trickster. And we joke back and forth, and it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Do you find it hard to get your material there when there isn't as much going on in the theaters? I mean, obviously, I guess maybe the superhero genre can fall into sci-fi.
It does, and we do a lot of that stuff too. We do all the Marvel stuff, all the DC stuff as well. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So you got your fingers to the pulse of everything out there.
Anything related to science fiction or fantasy or comics, anything like that, we do.
Right. And so you have your own business, you have your podcast, you are out there playing music. When do you have time to sleep and eat and hang out with family? I assume, do you have a wife and kids, or?
I have I've been married for this year to be 22 years. I've been married to a very beautiful Vietnamese girl named Nhu Tran.
Wow.
And, I'm a very lucky guy, and we met through another friend 23 years ago, and I had just been baptized and became a Christian, and I promised God that I was going to change my ways. Find me, but I read the Bible, and I saw where Paul wrote, if you can't take it, find your wife real quick. So I prayed to God, and I said, I need to find a wife real quick. And
here she came.
I saw her picture, and I said to my friend, I said, I'll marry her. And I married her 3 days after I met her.
Wow.
And it was an old-fashioned love story. I had to be approved by her parents. It was kind of, and we didn't have sex before marriage, and we did it the right way. And we've been together 22 years. It's been really a great journey. Yes.
Congratulations. Coincidentally, my brother, I am Vietnamese as well. I was born in Saigon.
Noi Ting Viet?
Thu Ting Viet. I know just enough to get me in trouble.
Noi Ting Viet Chuk Seal.
Yeah, Tutsil, very Tutsil.
Di Hap Ba Nam. I went to school for 3 years to learn.
Wow.
I know how to read and write in Vietnamese, and I speak Vietnamese.
That's fantastic. See, you're doing better than I am. Yeah, but my brother,
to know you're Vietnamese. Yeah.
My brother, I have an older brother. He's a year older than me. He grew up in Vietnam, and I grew up here. So it's kind of like that movie Twins. We had like completely different lifestyles. But so he grew up with my grandmother in Vietnam. So that was kind of like his mother. And I grew up with my mother here in the States. And her, as she was getting older, her dying wish was to see my brother married. So he had an arranged marriage. It was a girl from the village that my grandma knew ever since she was a little girl. And my brother went out there and met each other, and they got married. And
that's
they've probably got the most stable relationship of anybody I know.
Well, I'm not going to tell you it's any easier because I had relationships before that, but every relationship has its challenges. I was a very stubborn man in the beginning, and when I realized that now it's shorthand. Like when she gets mad at me, she says, "Don't talk," and I say, "Well, let me know when you're ready." We got to stay out of our own way as men, right? So
right.
That it's better for sure.
Right. Okay, we're gonna go back just a little bit. I hate to bounce around.
And you're darn right.
Yeah, I know. My director's putting a little star up there, like you better get back to this question. The question.
Sorry about that. Let me drink some blue milk.
The question was, what was your take?
Van, you're silent now.
Is it the question below me?
It's the one below you. So go ahead and feel free to answer. Yeah, you're muted.
Well, my character, from what I understand, because I was reading, doing our backstory and stuff like that, and reading stuff about Sindel. We originally were from Coruscant, so we had nothing to do with Tatooine or sand, and we were just traveling and got sucked into this void in our starship. Had issues, so we crashed land on the planet, and the rest is history. So we did have to flesh out the character a little bit before we were filming it, for sure.
We have another question down below as well. What's your take on the sequel trilogy, bad movies or worst movies ever made?
I'm not going to say, I'm not going to buy into all that, guys, because I love all of Star Wars. I'm a big Star Wars fan and geek. There were moments I loved. There were moments I didn't like. But overall, it's still the best thing that's ever made, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, come on. It has the best special effects, has the best acting. I think with this new movie, I have a lot of hope with this new Rey movie that maybe she'll be able to flesh out her character, since someone just asked me that.
Yeah, and I like Daisy Ridley, so looking forward to seeing her fleshed out somewhere.
I would love to see her have an actor's director like I had on Third Man of Courage. Yes.
Ark, I'm gonna make a suggestion. Leave the stream and then come back in, Van, because sometimes that will fix mic issues. Okay. I'm kind of more in the same boat too when it comes to the Star Wars stuff. Like I love everything that I've watched for Star Wars. And of course, there are moments you don't care for, moments that you really do like.
Sure.
I do.
I mean, I love the moment. I love the moment when Luke was training Leia, for instance.
It was a great set of montage parts and stuff like that.
Right.
It was really a great moment. I really enjoyed it. It was. I think I'll never forget her like holding the saber to him, and like, it was like such a dramatic moment. It's like
it was.
And I can't wait. And I know you probably heard it before the interview that my youngest hasn't seen any Star Wars movies yet.
I did hear that.
Yeah.
And that's going to be quite a journey for you.
Yeah. And I can't wait. Like, I'm ready to go on that journey with him. Most of my kids are not really big movie people. And so like trying to get them into them more. And the fact that he likes Back to the Future and was like really excited when we watched the second one.
Who
and
doesn't love Back to the Future?
I know. And like, who doesn't love Michael J. Fox, And so I was like, all right, I'm getting him into it a little bit. That's great. And my 14-year-old, like, they both got sabers for Christmas from Kyber Cave. And so they're like, oh, this is cool. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to get them into it. Now I really don't think he knows about Vader being the dad.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a shock.
Being Luke daddy. Yeah, it'll be a shock. I don't even remember. I think when I first watched it, I already knew.
I have an interesting Michael J. Fox story. I was filming Webster, and we were on the set, his stage. Family Ties was the stage next to us.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to meet Michael at that time because I was doing Webster and he was doing Family Ties. And my sister thought he was hitting on her, but I said, no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. But it's okay. At least she felt that way.
Yeah, that's fun, though. That's fun.
Yeah.
We have Jedi Council of America. Mr. Mike Berger asked, have you had any groups on your podcast?
That's a good question. I haven't. I think that would be a good idea. Yeah, that I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah. All right, Van, are you back?
Wait, I heard that's a really good question, and I didn't hear what the question was. Huh?
It was, have you had any
really
groups on your
now?
podcast? Yes, I'm going to turn you down. Don't worry.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I can turn you down myself because I know tech things you don't. Okay. Yeah. So the question was from Mr. Berger. He had a question for Mr. Berger of, have you had any groups on your podcast? All right. Now I'm going to disappear.
Okay.
Did you get a chance to answer that question?
I did. I said that I haven't, but that's a good idea to have some groups on more involved.
Eric, are you a cosplayer at all? Do you like to get dressed up?
No, I've never done that actually. So, but I'm not opposed to it for sure.
See, I know the perfect character you could go as. Of course.
Well, everybody kept calling me Mark the first week on the set, until I turned around. What's Mark doing here? Mark Hamill. Because I looked a lot like Luke when I was younger. Not so much now, but yeah.
Right. So we've talked about your podcast. We've talked about, you have your own business too. When you got further in your acting, was there a point where acting didn't seem like it was going to be the main focus in your life? How did the general construction business come into your life?
I'm going to give you a multi-answer to that. My dad and his brother had a construction company where they built like duplexes and triplexes and stuff like that out in the Palm Springs area back in the 90s. Right. So I used to go out there and visit with him and doing that. And at one point, I had been doing it for like 10 years. I went to acting school. I went to the LA County High School for the Performing Arts in LA, which also had Anthony Anderson from Blackish, later Josh Groban, Jenna Elfman, a lot of Corbin Blue, a lot of famous alumni went there. And I'd been doing it for so long. Right. I just kind of, and then it became more of my dad's dream than mine. And, it's like, and then, but I did still have the passion for music because I was always still doing that. So I just kind of moved away from that. And I had been also hired to edit a bunch of videos and stuff like that. And I started doing documentaries, and I did documentaries in Canada, won awards. Wow. And I started moving behind the scenes and doing that kind of stuff. And then later got into music. And then I said, wait a minute, I got to have something that's more stable. Then I started the business doing construction and windows and doors and stuff like that. So. Right.
So you kind of have both sides of to scratch. You've got more of your practical day job, but then you also still get to dabble in your arts and still, get to be creative.
Yeah, I mean, even at the office, I have one of the offices I actually converted into a recording studio, and that's where I do my recording. You asked about that earlier, but that's where we do the recording at. We have actually, I converted one of the offices and soundproofed it, and I have a recording studio there in one of the offices.
Oh, that is so fantastic. You gotta love modern technology to be able to have just that access in your, your back room closet.
That's true.
Do you do writing now or anything in the movies? Like, would you ever combine the two passions, doing music for a movie, or would you score movies? Is that something you'd like to
I
do?
would love to do that. I have people making comments all the time. If you listen to the first 3 albums I did, which are Tangier Dream, Universal Delight, and um, Brand New Day. And Brand New Day was actually up for a Grammy for Best New Age Album on that one. If you
Oh
listen to
wow.
that, I've heard people say it's very atmospheric. It sounds like a movie soundtrack. So I would not be opposed to doing that. Obviously music is my passion now. I love to compose. At one point, I had a friend give me a challenge back in the
Right.
early days of the internet. He said, "Why don't you show people how you compose music and write one song a week?" He gave me a challenge. So I wrote 52 songs
Right.
in 1 year. So doing that and
Wow.
showing people how I compose it and build each track, and that was quite a few of those songs ended up on Brand New Day actually.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've talked to several gosh, only one comes to mind off, and I've talked to several Star Wars actors on this show who are also musicians. The biggest one that comes to name right now is Steve
Yes.
Constantino. He's a
Yes.
Gamorrean guard, but
Yes, I know
he's also a
Steve, great
musician as
guitar
well.
player.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
guitar
We were
player.
talking about,
Yes.
wouldn't it be fun to get a Star Wars jam band of all, this different side characters playing music together on a
Yes.
stage.
That would be great. He's invited me to go up to he lives up in the mountains up here in LA, and
Mhm.
he just set up his new studio, actually invited me to come and
Right.
play with him. So I would hope to do that soon. He's a good guy.
Oh man, that's good. That's gotta be amazing. He's been telling me when we had him on here as a guest. Obviously we brought him on because of his Star Wars connection. But when I started hearing about all of the artists that he's worked in with the music world, I'm like, oh my god, you've been everywhere. You know everybody. It's
Yeah,
amazing how
it
many
is.
of the Star Wars actors have music as a passion as well.
It's the entertainment industry in general. It's like I think they did a movie years ago called 6 Degrees of Separation. We're all Everybody knows everybody. So
Right.
what my dad always told me as a kid, and he would drown it in. Of course, when you're a teenager, you don't listen. But now, as an adult, I realized my dad had great advice, and he said he would always, at the end of the day, I know, Dad, I'm going to do a good job when I go to work today and act. But what's the most important thing, son? What, Dad? You're going to be a nice guy to everybody, right? That was the best advice my dad ever gave me because it goes a long
Wow.
way. Yeah.
Right, because people remember you when you're a nice guy.
Not only that, the crew works harder than we do. So it's like they deserve the
Right.
respect for sure.
Wow. What do you see? I mean, you've got your hand in so many different projects. Is it hard? Is it hard to get ahead in any of them, or you just do it because of the passion of it? Or, I mean, would you really like to see, say, the music portion take off, where that is how your ma- your majority of your earnings come in, or maybe
Here's the
if the
problem with
film
the
side,
music. Here's the problem with the music industry. I still do it because it's my passion. But the last album I made any money on was my very first album called Tangier Dream, which went gold,
right,
by the way. But it was back
right,
in the day when there wasn't streaming. So
right.
where people had to download and pay 99 cents a song or 9.99 an album. So I had over 250,000 downloads on that album. So I made some money on that
Wow.
one. But last year I had 2 songs. One of them was called China Express, and the other one, I'm trying to remember which one it was. Each of them had over 1 million streams last year. So I had over 2 million streams
Right.
on 2 of my songs, and I made like a couple $1,000s. That's not enough to live off of.
Yes.
So the music industry is completely changed. I would like the only way it's going to come back if you want real people, not real people. That's a bad thing to say. If you want more creativity and have more people get involved in it so they can make a living, we need to really pass
Right.
some new legislation through Congress to set minimums for streams or downloads, and then more people will become musicians again, and more people will be creative again. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to stop my passion for music, and I'm not going to ever rule against a return to acting. But I mean, if Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau said, "Hey, let's bring Mace back," or if you want to be a stormtrooper, or you want to do this quick role, I would do something like that. But it's other than that, I'm busy running my business and doing my music. So, and my podcast. That's 3 things right there. So,
how often is your podcast, and where can people check that out?
Yeah, the podcast we do weekly. It's on Saturdays at 3:30 Pacific, and you can catch it on the easiest way to catch it, of course, is on YouTube. It's youtube.com, and then spell out the whole word all, ALLFORSCIFI. So all for sci-fi.
And of course, our fabulous director is going to have that in the description box for everybody who is watching at home and want to get that down later. Make sure, and there it is there too. You can just click on right there, and that'll take you directly to the podcast.
I do have to apologize.
Eric,
I wrote it in the private chat, but I accidentally misclicked and removed your live stream from the YouTube. So
sorry, it's okay. No worries. What did you say?
A few years, I know.
You're breaking up again.
I'm not sure if I thought for a while that it was my internet causing some of the breakage.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if it's Vans necessarily, because right now he is frozen for me.
Yeah, I see he's frozen.
Yeah, I saw the thing. I was like, oh, it's that. And I hit the wrong button and I missed it. It was like that. You're kind of frozen, Van. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
There you are. I can see you now. Your internet's kind of going in and out sometimes, but go ahead and continue. You're back now.
Do you want me to refresh?
Yes. Or say whatever you're going to say again.
Say what you're going to say, or you can leave and come back like you did before.
I was talking to you, last time I talked to you, I think we were just kind of coming. I was asking you about your plans this year. Are you planning on trying to grow the podcast? Is that your main focus, or with the music, or what is going to be what do you have planned for the next year or so?
Okay, well, I have 2 albums coming out this year. One of them is my 4th album with Alpha Centauri Man, and we just released a new single a few weeks ago. You could catch that new single out. It's called Jedi Dance. So just type in Eric Walker Jedi Dance. You can find it on every streaming platform, YouTube, wherever you stream. And we have another album coming out right around this midsummer time. And then I have an instrumental album that's going to be coming out at the end of the year. And I also have a book that's coming out at the end of this year called Growing Up in a Galaxy Far, Far Away, which is based on the stuff in Star Wars. And the podcast, it's an ongoing thing. I would love to grow it. Yes, of course I would. And we have a lot of fun doing it every week. And I noticed Jedi Council of America mentioned something about his group. So maybe I could talk to him about that later. So yeah, I mean, everything's on the cards.
I think you froze again.
Oh, yeah.
Van, go ahead and exit the stream and come back. Yeah, go exit do what you did earlier. Exit StreamYard and come back in. We've had a couple of times where sometimes StreamYard has a thing where someone freezes or their mic doesn't work.
I know. I use StreamYard and coming
back in. Yeah, it has those issues off and on. And I remember when my church tried to use it, but unfortunately, where my church is located, it's in the country and there's no broadband internet. And so we have just a hotspot, and you can't control the bit rate with StreamYard. And that's one thing I like about, we use OBS now. So the one thing I like about that is you can control the strength, the bit rate that you're pushing it through. So you can make sure you can actually do it with how low your internet connection is. I think he got the message about leaving and coming back.
Good idea.
Oh, yeah. Mike Berger, who is the leader of Jedi Council of America. If you'd like, we can send you forward his contact info to you.
That's great. Look forward to it.
Yeah, and so I grabbed the
Because
YouTube
one of the things we do is we do a lot of conventions. So
Okay.
not just the ones I'm appearing at, like we do LA Comic Con. Last year we went to Germany, we went to London.
That's
We're
so
gonna
cool.
be, so we do a lot of other conventions to do walkthroughs and show people what it's like as well to go to those different conventions.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Actually, it's interesting because last Sunday, KyberCon did one here in town that was a good size. It's not huge, but it was a good our little town of Vacaville, and it
okay.
was my first con that I actually gone to in a year and a half, or almost just over a year, where I actually Kyber Cave had a convention called KyberCon 3, and I managed it. We had 5 weeks to put it on.
Wow.
And it was the first one it was like maybe I conned out because it was the first con I had been to last Sunday for the first time since then. And cons are a lot of fun. So he's trying to load back in right now. So hopefully that works out. Anyway, so cons are fun. I mean I like going to them. I used to go every year before I had kids.
Right.
I would go to AX Anime Expo. I went down there in Southern California every year. I think I went 6 years in a row, and then the next year I had a kid, and I was just like not wanting to take my baby
Right.
everywhere. All right, Van, hello, welcome back. And he's frozen a little bit.
Hello.
hello. We can hear you. We can hear you, Van. Okay.
Yay! And I can hear you.
Okay,
I'm so sorry, Eric.
Good. Okay, go ahead and continue.
Mez, why don't you wrap this up? Because I think I'm having some.
Yeah, I think you're okay.
Can you
Goodbye,
get the segment?
Okay. Yeah, we'll just wrap it up. Thank you, Eric, so much for coming on. I'm just
my pleasure.
Mez,
I really enjoyed. Yes, he can't hear anything. I don't think he's getting it right now. So thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed the interview and hearing a lot of your stories, like the Michael J. Fox and the ones from Star Wars. Always quite interesting. Love to have you back again. I think this is your second time with us.
Yes.
But maybe the first since I've been on, because I have been on the channel for actually 2 years now.
Okay.
Anyway, well, thank you so much for joining us. You guys just have a wonderful evening. You're welcome to stay and watch in the green room below, or you can just head out, whatever your schedule is like. So, all right,
guys,
thank you so much.
Stay safe. Thanks for having me.
Have a good night. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Come on, Jedi, get those sabers up. Right, ACM? Okay, let's do this.
In a galaxy rhythm where the stars align, feel the force and the beat start to unwind. Turn up the heat and let your lightsaber shine tonight. Then draw your own circle to focus your life. Feel the force inside, get out of your mind and allow your spirit to shine. From the rocks to the trees and even those X-wings.
All right, it's Mezzo Solo now. Yes, unfortunately, Van, internet maybe is having some issues. Usually he's doing it from the shop, but this evening he is back at home. So maybe there's just some internet outage issues in the area. That's also a possibility. So anyway, all right, guys, that was a great interview. Thank you so much, Mr. Walker, for coming on with us. I really enjoyed that interview very, very much. Guys, don't forget, we do have other shows that we've got. We actually just brought Saturday Morning Nerd Out. We brought it back to Saturday mornings. And so please make sure to join us at 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday mornings. We talk about all different topics. Yesterday, we talked about the Phantom Menace. We talked about Trap and Watchers. We talk about all the different things that are new that just came out, like trailers and such. We have one person, one host usually does a nerd out segment where we pick something, that person picks out something to get really excited about and nerd out on. And let's see if he's back at all. And yesterday was about the Fallout TV show and the connection with the games. Van, can you hear me? Awesome. I can hear you. I can already tell. I can hear you. Anyway, I think there's just
my
some
audio
internet
is coming
issues on
in
your
now, so.
side. Yeah, I think there's just some internet issues on your side.
Could be
as the main. Yeah, and it's not processing to you. It's delayed and such like that. So, so we also have our New Order TV, New Order upload show that's being worked on. We have 9 episodes recorded right now. A couple that had some tech issues that we had to figure out.
We'll We'll see if we can get this fixed. I want to thank Eric Walker so much. I feel so bad about the way that ended. Eric was a fantastic guest. Always excited to hear about what he is doing.
Yes, I very much enjoyed his interview, and he said he's the StreamYard too, and sometimes it gets issues. But guys, don't forget, every 100 subs, we give away a free Saber. So make sure to share our channel so you guys can get another chance, and so can your friends. All right, guys, you have a wonderful week, and we will catch you later.
We
Bye.
are 67 people away.
Oh, 67. Okay.
Adios. Take care.
Okay.